Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, you find yourself as one of the chosen ones to become the next Keeper of Vale. You're set apart based on strategic insight, skill, and unique abilities as you've been summoned to the fallen realm of the Ascended to compete in combat through the Keeper Trials. Only one chosen will emerge with the power and right to don the Mantle of the Keeper. Mantle of the Keeper is a card-driven skirmish game for 2 to 4 players. It takes 15 minutes per player to play, it's for ages 14 and up, and is published by StrongBox Games. Now it's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works and I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are not final, they're prototypes. To see all the final art and components, check the Kickstarter link in the description of this video. Now each of you are going to be able to select a chosen. It will happen in player order, but there are plenty to choose from, and each of these have a board. It tells you the name, it tells you, their attack and defense and range and what their abilities are, what their play styles are, tips to play as this chosen, and the backstory, and all of them will come with their own set of deck of cards, again, which matches their different play style and strategies. Now here's a couple more of the chosen that you can choose from. And here are the last two that I'll be showing you. Now, once you've selected one of these chosen, you'll be flipping that board over and you'll be tracking different things like your health. Now, you'll start with a certain amount of health depending on the amount of players. Now, you're trying to basically be the last one standing. If you are, you win. And by doing that, you'll be trying to get everyone else's health to 0 and you still be alive. That's how you win the game. You'll also be tracking favor, which is a form of currency in the game, which will allow you to do different things, including certain type of favor type abilities that you'll be able to unlock over the course of the game. One of them starts unlocked, but these are different for each of the chosen. It also will show your movement here and your range. We'll talk more about this later. Then you'll go through setting up the board. Now, these are tiles, individual tiles. There's 4 of them, and it will always be in a sort of a 2x2 or 4 square here. But these are double-sided, and players are going to be able to place them in one at a time in turn order to create the battlefield here. Now, also, players are going to be placing their chosen as a starting spot, and they'll also be placing some hazard tokens. We'll talk about these are later. Now about this map, you'll see these white lines. These are obstructions that are here. They'll stop line of sight. You can't move through them and things like that. And again, we'll talk more about some of these hazards as well. Now at the beginning of the game, each player is going to shuffle their deck and draw 5 cards. It's going to be starting hand. But like many skirmish games, you can do what's called an overhaul, which is you could discard the cards, all of them that you drew, and draw 1 less. And you can continue doing this, so you can keep trying to get different cards, but every time you do that, you're going to get 1 less. This only happens at the beginning of the game. Now, each round, players are going to take turns in clockwise order, and each player is going to go through 3 different phases: income, action, and end of turn. In the income phase, you're going to gain 1 favor, so you're going to go up here, and then you're going to draw an additional card. Then you'll move to the action phase, where players have 2 actions, and those actions are either draw a card or play a card. But you can also move, and we see some movement here. So let's say I have this card that I want to play, and it's going to allow me to attack, but we know that my range is 2 because that's shown here, and I can move up to 3. So let's say I wanted to move so I can get in range of attacking here, and now I've moved 2, I could have moved up to 3, and I have a range of 2, so I'm definitely close enough to hit him there. Now you can move diagonal in this game, assuming that there's not obstructions there, but let's say we're here now and I wanted to attack with this card. Now there's 2 types of cards: basic ones, which have what the card is called, saturated solutions, and then it has flavor text. We'll show you some advanced cards later that have some special abilities. Well, this one has an attack of 6 and a defense of 2. So I'm going to say I'm going to be attacking him. We check to make sure that A, we have line of sight, and B, it's within range. Both of those check out. So I'm going to play this card as one of my 2 actions and attack for 6. Now this player can, if they want to, it does not count as an action for them or anything, can play a card to defend. So in this case, they play this basic card. They have to be able to play one that has a defend on it. And then we look, it is 6 my attack, -4 their defense. That means you subtract that, there's 2 successful damage inflicted. And since we dealt 2 successful damage, we would get 2 on the favor track. Again, you'll be able to spend these later. So this chosen is going to lose 2 health. Again, getting everyone down to 0 or being the last one standing is how you win the game. However, let's say that player played this one. Their defense is 6. I had an attack of 6. They were able to fully defend my attack. Now, not only would they have not lost any health, but they also would gain 2 favor. We'll talk about spending this later for doing that full defense bonus. Now let's say for my second action, I played a card. Now this is a special card because it has some special abilities on there, smoke in a bottle. Force all nearby opponents to discard 1 card in their hand, then you roll a die and then draw equal to half of that number of rolled. So they're losing cards, and then we're going to be getting some cards possibly, depending on what they roll here. Now nearby means anybody that is within line of sight and range of you. So in this case it's just them, but if this player was here, you'd be doing it to all of them. So different ways to use special ability cards. So after you've taken income and done 2 actions, you then go to the end of turn phase where some abilities might have some end turn effects on them. And all the cards that you play go in a discard pile. At that point, you need to check to make sure you don't have more than 6 cards. If you do, you have to discard because that's your hand limit, and that'll be the next player's turn clockwise. So let's talk about some of the other things you can do on your turn that does not count as an action. For example, favor exchange. You can discard a card to gain a favor. Okay? You could spend 2 favor to draw a card, so it goes either way here. Again, we talked about you gain 2 favor for defending an attack, but you can move an additional space for every favor that you spend. So normally we could move 3, but let's spend a favor and now move 4, for example. Also, you can use abilities. Everyone has 1 unlocked ability at the beginning of the game. Like if you deal successfully 2 damage, like we had just done, you get to steal a favor from the targeted player. Now we hadn't talked about that, but this would have happened because we did deal 2 successful damage. Now another thing you could do is spend favor on your turn a certain amount to unlock an ability. Like this one says 3, I can go 1, 2, 3, and you'll put a cube on here to show you that you've unlocked it. And now you have this ability, reroll a die, may only be used once per effect, and then you take the result of your choice. And these abilities are available for the rest of the game. If you unlock this one, you get to spend 2 favor to roll a die, and if the result is 1 to 3, draw cards equal to the number rolled, or 4 to 6, nothing happens. But this one's only once per turn. Now let's take a look at this Dark Mage. It has a movement of 3 and a range of 3. So they could say move away and still be in range, still have line of sight, still be able to hit me back there. Let's say they play this attack. Now some cards you can play along with other cards, like modifiers. Like this says +1 to an attack or defense. So this one actually could go from a 6 to a 7. So it's just showing you how modifiers work. Now we talked about obstructions here, that they block line of sight, but they also cost you 2 movement to move through any of those squares instead of 1. But now let's talk about some of these hazard tokens. Now this is a tremor. If a character moves into this, they're dealt 1 damage, and if a character ends their turn still on the tremor, they're dealt an additional damage. Now this is a breach, and they still act as obstructions, but they can actually be destroyed with 1 damage. So you could hit this with an attack and destroy it if you want. Now this one is a surge. It's actually good. When you move into it, you actually gain 1 extra movement, that movement sequence. And if a player ends their turn on the surge, they can use that effect the next turn. Now, if you have Rift, that's what this is, essentially you'll always put a second one on the board. Let's say this one was here. Now these are considered to be adjacent. So when you move, you can move from this Rift over to this Rift. And again, you're trying to be the last chosen standing to win the game. Now there's some alternate game modes you can play with an alternate turn order where there'll be a deck of cards and you'll pass them out, so you're not really sure exactly what the turn order will be that round. You can also play with a 4-player sort of alliance where it's a team-based game where the chosen are not just tested on their abilities, but their synergy to cooperate with others to overcome even the mightiest of challenges. So for example, these 2 might actually be teammates and you're trying to be the first to eliminate both players on the other team. Now I'm going to show you these special cards from some of the other chosen. Feel free to pause here and read through the abilities if you choose. And these ones are from Velia the Assassin. Now let's look at some cards from Kea. Here's some special cards from Shem the Ranger. Here's some special cards from Gray the Nomad. And for example, let's look at this, like play style, low range and speed, but offset with heavy attacks. Gray's play style leans towards guerrilla warfare. He hits and repositions. If Gray can attack on his terms, his opponent's defenses become futile. The tip, while Gray likes to get close when attacking, he does best when he's constantly on the move. So each one of these is going to give you, the tip and the style and the backstory. Well, there you have Mantle of the Keeper, and as I showed in the overview, each chosen has its own individual play style, deck of cards, and abilities, allowing players to leverage its chosen strengths. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me, and I'm sure that the fine folks at StrongBox Games would love your support.